What's up, people of YouTube? This is Warlord here, bringing you guys another video to the channel, and today we're going to be discussing Call of Duty World War II 4 years later. Now, the other day I was sitting here at my desk just trying to think about what I could do for content and what type of videos I could make and what games I wanted to play, because I'm trying to get back into the swing of things. And I thought about Call of Duty like I usually do, and I came to the conclusion that Call of Duty World War II was 4 years ago, or just about 4 years ago, and we are approaching potentially another Call of Duty World War II title. And I thought to myself, I want to go back and experience Call of Duty World War II again and kind of see if my opinions on that game are different than they were when the game was first out. There are a few things that stood out right away to me, and a few topics that make me want to discuss some things in other videos. So that's going to be the general premise of this entire video. I want to talk about reflecting on Call of Duty World War II 4 years later and how that has changed my overall opinion of the game. If you guys do enjoy this video, please go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe for more content. Comment down below, help that algorithm out, man, because I need it. I need the help. So I primarily played Shipment while I was playing World War II. I only played for a little over an hour, I believe, just to kind of get a feel of things. And one of the first things that really jumped out to me was just how arcadey the game felt. This was what Call of Duty felt like prior to Modern Warfare 2019. It just felt very I don't know, it felt very old school to me in a great way. Like, it was the first time that I put in a game that in my brain I classify as being an older title at this point, and it feeling like an older title and not feeling just like any other Call of Duty. And I don't know whether or not I like it or I hate it compared to the new Call of Duty movement, but one thing is for sure, it was a lot easier to navigate and to snap onto enemies. It really shocked me the lack of recoil in the weapons and how easy it was to control everything and how simple it was to play a game like this, and how elevated my skill has gotten since playing Modern Warfare 2019 and Cold War, because the competition in the game itself is just so much more difficult. And I remember feeling that when Modern Warfare 2019 first came out. So one of the first things I've noticed about COD World War II is just how much simpler it was in terms of just the gameplay and how smooth and arcadey it felt. Ultimately, I think I enjoy that. I think I want that feeling back, but I don't necessarily think that the way things have been the last couple of years should be completely abandoned. I just think that there can be a little bit more of an arcadey tone added into future Call of Duties, and I think Cold War tried to do that and it was better, but I still don't think it's quite enough. One of the next things that I noticed was the competition. So I just mentioned the way that the game felt and how I could snap onto enemies much easier, and part of me thinks that maybe the reason why the competition felt so much easier is because I've improved so much by playing harder games. Going back to a game like World War II was just so much easier than it was when it was in its prime. It could also be the fact that the player pool who is still playing Call of Duty World War II are probably people who are not huge Call of Duty fans. They're not moving on to the next title. They're mostly just, they got the game a few years ago and they've just been playing it ever since, and it's just their game. That's always a possibility too. I didn't run into anybody that I could single out in a lobby that was like, oh, this guy is good. This player is just destroying me. There were a lot of players in there that just didn't have thumbs. Like, it was bad. It was kind of like, it felt like old school Call of Duty lobbies. Not to bring this back to skill-based matchmaking, but it definitely felt like that was in full effect in games like Cold War and Modern Warfare 2019. But going back to COD World War II, it felt like there was little to no skill-based matchmaking. I was running into players who would literally stand in one spot and could hardly hit anything, and I was also running into players that knew their way around the maps and were fairly decent. I just didn't see anybody that was crazy good. And the couple of games that I did play, I don't know if I used them for this video, but a couple of the games that I did play, I did pretty well. I think I had like a game of 60 and 20 or something like that, and then I might have had another game where I was like 35 and like 10 or something along those lines. They were pretty good games and much harder to achieve those types of games in games like Modern Warfare and Cold War. Now, Modern Warfare is manageable and things like Shipment, but Cold War, for whatever reason, the skill-based matchmaking is turned all the way up to 10, so it's a lot harder to achieve that. But that's one of the things I noticed, is the competition either felt way less skilled because they just simply are, or skill-based matchmaking wasn't tuned the way that it is in these current games, or I've just drastically improved in combination with the other two things I just said because of how much harder the most modern Call of Duty titles are. Another thing that I really noticed while playing World War II was that it looked surprisingly good. Like, the weapons in specific, not so much necessarily the maps, even though those looked fine in my opinion, but the guns themselves, holding them in your hand, you know, inspecting them, they just looked good. And I would argue that they looked better than Cold War, which I honestly didn't expect to say, but I feel like they look better than Cold War weapons. And I think everybody knows that Modern Warfare 2019 looks better than Cold War, at least slightly, but I don't know what it was about Modern Warfare and Cold War, but there's such a difference there, and for COD World War II's weapons to look, in my opinion, a lot more detailed than they do in Cold War, it was kind of shocking. I did enjoy that. Now, I don't think it's like a thing to stand on and say that COD World War II is such a superior Call of Duty, because I don't really think that's the case. It's just some elements of it definitely stood out. Another thing that I really disliked about World War II that stood out a lot while playing is I don't like the division system. I didn't like the way that you had these weird classes and perks were set up differently. Even after they changed a bunch of things during the summer when that game was in its prime, it just wasn't quite enough to pull me in. I really hope that going into the next Call of Duty, if it is Sledgehammer and it is supposed to be like a sequel kind of to COD World War II, I'm really hoping that they do away with that system, because I did not like that at all. I would 100% be open to the way things have worked the past couple of years, but with a modern system for perks and everything else in a World War II theme. I think that would work a lot better. Now, this topic is going to be slightly controversial. I want to talk about the headquarters, which I've already mentioned in other videos. I like the headquarters. I like the whole feeling, and I really enjoyed it when I was running around in headquarters in World War II again. But one thing that I really enjoyed was the contracts, the little challenges that you could do daily, and I enjoyed the supply drops. Now, it's not what you're thinking. I don't like the idea of getting guns out of supply drops, but I enjoyed the feeling of throwing the supply drop down, it coming from the sky, not knowing what I'm going to get. And I think a couple of the times I got some somewhat cool items that I hadn't had before, and I realized that I missed that feeling. And I'm not going to dive too deep into that in this video. I do want to make an entirely different video discussing my opinions on supply drops and what their place is in Call of Duty in terms of the past and our current DLC system and content system with the season passes and all. I want to take a whole nother video and discuss that in and of itself. But this game, I realized that it was better than I remembered in a lot of ways. It still felt kind of stale. Like, you know, it's World War II, it's gritty, it's dark. They got a lot better with the camos, but by the time they did that, I would already lost a lot of my interest in the game. But if I was to start right now, completely wiped of my memory of this game, if I started right now, I would enjoy the game way more than I did when it initially launched. And to me, that's a good thing. So ultimately, Call of Duty World War II improved over time. Going back and looking at it now, it was better than I remember, and I thoroughly enjoyed myself playing that game, and I wished I would have took the time and stopped and smelled the roses a little bit more prior to, you know, stopping that game, I suppose, prior to giving up on that game. I think that it had a lot more good things that people give it credit for. I know that competitive play is a whole nother discussion. A lot of people really hated competitive, and I don't really have any input on that. I'm just speaking simply from public matches and the grind factor of camos and challenges and all of that. And I think going into Call of Duty World War II Vanguard or Vanguard, whatever it's going to be called, I think there is potential for it to be a really good game as long as they add in the right elements and leave out certain elements. Anyways, guys, if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. Please subscribe for more content. Like I said in the beginning, it really helps out the algorithm and helps my channel grow. Anyways, deuces.